It's so funny. I don't even know what to call this. I mean, it's not a teaching. It's not a message. It's not somewhere you can get to. It's just merely and always just what's happening. So there's no path to just what's happening. There's no strategy. There's no getting to just what's happening. And if it feels like there's a getting to or a seeking, then that's what's happening. So if getting frustrated arises, then that's just what's happening. Anger arises. Because there's always only just what's happening, and that's what's inescapable. So there's nothing to be done about just what's happening, unless you feel there is something to do, and then that, yes, that would be what's happening. Do you see? There's just no left, right, up, down. So just what's happening isn't a somewhere that you can get to. It's not a place. It's not a location. It's not a person. It's not Nkosi. It's this. It's the whole enchilada. It's everything. Just as it is. Not special. Not, doesn't have to be fireworky. Just exactly what's arising. And so the no strategy to just what's happening, if that is heard, it just kills the seeking. Because how are you going to get to just what's happening? It is laughable. I mean, it's sweet, but that's what the whole spiritual seeking is all about, trying to get somewhere else. But I'm never trying to get to just what's happening. So there's only just what's happening. So how would you get there? And who would get there? And just what's happening never actually becomes anything. It's just always just what's happening. So, I mean, you've heard it said, right? Nothing happens. Like, you guys have heard that, right? Nothing happens. This is nothing happening because it doesn't become anything solid. You can't find anything here. You have to imagine it. Give it a label. Tell a story. Just what's happening has no story. And yet you could say it contains all stories. The suffering is when the stories are believed as real, as if they actually exist somewhere, as a reality. It doesn't exist anywhere because there's just what's happening. And you can't escape just what's happening, so there's nothing to do. Just go about your just go about your day. It's just very normal, very ordinary, just what's happening. And if you don't like what's happening, that's just what's happening. It doesn't mean anything. It'll change. That's what I mean about there's no solids. There's no, see, the mind gives the impression that whatever it is you're thinking about actually exists somewhere in a reality. It's a real thing. It's reality. I'm suffering my thoughts because I believe they're real. And I'll just say one last thing, because there are no real separate objects, no real separate objects can be found, it turns out that there's nothing to control. That's why it's called the illusion of control, because you think you're controlling something. But it's like the child's fake steering wheel. The little child's turning the steering wheel. I remember as a kid, right, when my, grown up turned right, I turned right, and the car went right. I'm like, wow, this thing really works. So that's the illusion. It's very convincing that I'm the doer. So this is an open meeting. Everybody's invited to participate. If you have a comment or a question, please feel free to unmute and jump in.
Well, I just, when you were talking about the illusion of control, I was thinking about earlier today, I work as a teacher in a high school, and I have this student come over for some math help and sit next to me. But it was clear she didn't really want to do the math work. She kept going off on other stuff. And, at one point, it's just like with this message is so funny. At one point I said, okay, well, it's your choice, but I know this is a total lie. But that's what we say.
That's great.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, listen, Zoe, I'm right there with you. I teach chess to different schools, after school programs. And listen, I talk to these kids just normal.
Yeah.
I like, pick up, don't throw the chess pieces on the ground. Don't throw them at your opponent. And yeah, I'm playing the role of the teacher, but it's done much lighter these days.
Yes. Yeah, it's just beautiful. Not like, oh God, I have to make her want to do math, whatever.
Oh my God. When the meet here was taken seriously and I thought I had a job to do, oh my, it was torture for them and it was torture for me.
Oh, complete. Yeah. And now it's just, like you said, so much lighter, like just enjoying these appearances that appear
Exactly.
and disappear.
Yeah.
Oh.
I wonder if anybody would talk a little bit about love.
When I think of love, I think of just unconditional love, like universal love, not love this object or that subject, but just across the board. And I went through some self-loathing for years, got to love myself more, but now it's just universal love. Since there's no self.
So I would say love is really what you're talking about, Michael, but it can't be put into words. It's the absence of anything else or any dreamlike states.
Yeah, exactly, Alice. You just do, see it in Nkosi, this unconditional love is so apparent. And that isn't in a person. It's not that unconditional love. It's not like Nkosi has something. It's this right here, just as whatever's happening. It's like it's already unconditional love. Yeah, it's like you can't, it's not a thought. So you can't say, well, wait, this is unconditional love. This doesn't look like unconditional love. It's not like that. It's not an image or a thought or an idea. It's simply everything as it is the perfection, is the love as it is.
And when you say unconditional, I think sometimes of love as just yes without a no. Just yes without any no. A yes to everything, yes, just yes. Just a yes. And then the no is kind of a feeling of limitation. You know, it's a yes, but, which is kind of what the me feeling is. There's always something else needed, something else, something a little bit, you know, yes, but that isn't really what's here. What's here is just the yes. It's just as it is. It says yes to everything. It's already yes. And there really isn't a no. That's, you know, you can't find a no. Although, yes, you can find a no in the story. In our stories, there's always the limitations and no's and limits of things. But that isn't really what's just here. What's just here is just really what it is without any reservation and without any limit or any fine print to it. Yeah, that's what I think of love as.
Yeah, there's no authentic or inauthentic. There's no special or not special. And yet it's like incredibly special in its unspecialness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think about I think about love, relating it to Nkosi. It's like it's like the judgment has been peeled away from that individual. It's like judgment does not enter into his thinking, into his being. It's just like there's no judgment. And when you lift that judgment away, I think what's left is love.
Yeah, I like that, Faith. Although I would maybe twist it around a little bit, play with it, because the judgment doesn't really need to be stripped away or taken away. I mean, really, judgment is never here. The judgment is kind of something added on in a story that really isn't here. That's kind of the way I would put it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, I would say Nkosi is an example of, I don't know, living without that, or, well, the story of judgment or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and if he was here right now, he'd probably be saying something like, "Well, that's what this is. That's what's here. That's what it is. There isn't anything else."
That's this too.
You'd probably be giving us that cute little laugh for a while.
That chuckle. Yeah, it's so beautiful. He just seems so amused by everything.
It's just unfazed by anything. And unfazed by so much stuff.
Yeah, it's just this telling stories. That's what Nkosi see. It's just, oh, I'm telling another story to myself.
Yeah.
So that's the no separation. The illusion is that we're talking to other.
Yeah. When I hear Kosi talking, sometimes I've got this picture in my mind of like his words. It's like I'm an insect caught in a spider's web. I've watched the spider. When the insect lands in, the spider rushes out from wherever it is and it wraps it up. It wraps the insect up with the spider web into a sort of, and I feel like Kosi's words and thoughts, they sort of just wrap me up into a bundle of where I don't have to move, where I'm just safe and nothing to say, nowhere to go. A place that I'm very happy to be in. Because his words sometimes, you know, he sort of repeats them and then it comes at a different angle, and I don't know, that's how it affects me anyway. It's just beautiful how it happens.
The spider is going to eat you up, Faith.
I forgot about that. I don't exist in the first place, so there's nothing to eat.
Ah, touche.
The spider's love.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things when you guys were all speaking about love is I've heard people say sometimes that it's all love. War is love. The death of a child is love. And yeah.
And Hitler is love. There are no exceptions.
But again, this never actually becomes anything. It's always moving and changing. So what we're labeling they're just labels. They're temporary. They're good for communication, good for telling stories. But the exact thing that you're speaking of doesn't actually exist in the way you think it does. There's no reality where that image or that situation is exactly the way it's believed to be, because this is always just what's happening. So it never stands still. There's no break, no pause.
So Michael, in that, are you saying that the illusion is also love?
Yeah. Even the judgment is love. It's a hell of a disguise. Because there's not really such a thing as judgment. There's only love. So thoughts are this too. So nothing's hidden. That's sort of the illusion that the me has, is there's stuff that I'm not aware of. There's things happening in the background, and just so much to know. There's not. There's just this. There's just the simplicity of what's happening.
But what is it that is just happening, like for you, like right now?
You're asking a question. Don's asking a question on my Zoom computer screen. That's it.
But yeah, that if you would say that from your point of view, but if somebody in a certain part of the world had no Zoom, I wouldn't be doing that. When we say this is what's happening, and I've been playing with this, like, well, depends who's looking, who's going to say what it is that is happening. Because I'm sure from my point of view right here, I'd say different things are happening probably than other people. So I'm trying to find out what that thing is what is happening and who can say what that is, since there's nobody.
May I take a shot at this, Don? I was
Yeah.
reflecting, we talked about this a little bit last time, and I was reflecting up on it, and what came was anytime we're getting into a hypothetical, we're off into the story. And, Michael just kind of demonstrated it. What's happening is right now, somebody talking and somebody listening, and just as soon as we go beyond that, we're into story.
But right, but I mean, somebody talking, I'm going to always say this, somebody talking is already a story.
Yeah, we're trying to describe it, yes. Or you can take it one step further and say somebody's jaw moving up and down, and air coming through the vocal cords, and sounds being generated. You can get more and more phenomenological or something like that,
Right. I'm trying to figure out what is that thing that is happening if you keep going down lower and lower like you are. Since we're talking about it, I want to know what that is.
You're trying to figure out just what's happening.
Well, John, what if it isn't a thing?
I'm not, whatever it is. Whatever you think Nkosi has, or wherever you think Nkosi is coming from, or however you would put it, whatever language you want to use.
So a
that
cheap shot at that would be, it's a mystery. It cannot be known in that sense.
Okay. That's, I always keep coming back to, like, that's a story too. I guess I'm looking for the answer to.
Yeah.
You're looking for the best
what
story.
is not a story?
You're looking for the story of stories.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's what seeking's all about. That was the feeling here, was once I know the golden question, the answer to the ultimate secret to the whole universe, then I'll be there, then I'll have it. And it's such bullshit. It's just what's happening. There's no getting to what's happening. There's no spiritual path. There's nothing.
So it still makes sense what you're saying, but It's just what's happening. That's being said. It's just what's happening, but nobody can tell me what that is. But it can be said, so it must be referring to something. Otherwise, one wouldn't say,
Yeah, it's
right?
it's so simple, it's overlooked on. It's saying exactly no, this is great. It's saying you asking your questions, which are great, they're awesome. That's this, right? This
Okay.
is all that's happening.
But I would add, this is really great. But isn't that also, that's what is happening, is it's like that's like a strategy too, though, no? Or a philosophy.
Yeah, it sounds like it, Alan, because I'm using language. So of course, right? I mean, when you communicate from one individual to another, it definitely can sound like, well, yeah, just do this. But what's being pointed at here is just what's happening is just what's happening. And so who can say what that is?
No, I totally hear that. I guess what I keep coming back to is sort of what Don is saying, is that no matter how you describe it, even if you're describing the inevitable, to me, it still feels like it's a description or a philosophy. I guess I feel like no matter what we say, if we're saying something is something, it's a philosophy or a strategy or a tool. I understand. No, I've been around here long enough to know exactly what you mean by it. But I'm just trying to look at this in a different worldview, that if we say anything is this, or this is that, or this isn't that, or that's a story, or that's not a story, to me, it's still, if we're talking about it in a discussion, even if we have to use terms, we're still saying that this is what we believe, or that this is what we're suggesting, no?
How about, Alan, how about if we're saying there is just this, if it's understood that this has nothing to do with the words, it is way beyond any description, and we're filling in, yeah, and you can call it a concept, strategy, but if you just realize that it is not to be named or captured in language or understood by the human mind, you know, then it's just this.
I know, but that's a story too.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with the story.
Right. No, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying there is either. I'm just saying that it's a story. You can't avoid it. It's a description. You can't avoid it. We can call it this, we can call it not this, we can say whatever we want, but whatever is being shared here is still a philosophy. If you're using terminology to point to something, even if you're pointing to something that's transcendent or doesn't exist, which is what we're calling this in a way, it's still a description.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. It's just a description, and it's still a philosophy on some level, because you're sharing information pointing to something, even again, if it's the ineffable. It's still something.
Can I, all right, I'll bite. So,
Bite.
Yeah.
Please.
I know what you're saying. So that's with like regular communication, any meeting, anything, right? Any book. Yes, it's going to be a transmission of information. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's interesting. That's a better way of, that's more efficient, whatever. That's not this message. That's what makes this so weird. Because it's not giving you any direction.
I know, but that's not, this message is still a description of what is or what isn't.
Well, what is it describing?
I'm not even saying I'm have an answer for you. I'm just saying that it's still it still is putting out terms or words, even if you're saying it's like the Tao, right? The Tao that can be told is not the eternal
Right,
Tao.
right.
And I know you get that.
I
'cause know
get,
you-
yeah, yeah. No, I totally get. But you could see the problem with that because it's the mind kind of intercepting the past. And as long as the mind intercepts the past, you're always going to hear a story. What is Nkosi and myself and Dan and others were something's being pointed to that cannot be put into words, cannot.
Is it kind of like you can't drink the word water?
By the way, the irony is I love the message to me I resonate with. I think it's wonderful. I'm just trying to look at it from the other side of it too, that it's a paradox, right? And I know it's hard to avoid, but I think what happens sometimes as I listen week after week here is that it feels like, especially when Don chimes in, is it feels like we're bringing this back to this narrative, which I love. But I also think that Don makes a lot of great points that we have to still say on some level, we're describing, even if we're trying to describe the indescribable, it's still a philosophy on some level. It's unavoidable. If we speak out loud, no matter what, unless we're silent.
I understand it can be heard that way. Okay, I understand that. I'm not disagreeing for sure. But that I'm still saying it's not my intention.
Gotcha.
The map is the map. Another saying is the map is not the territory. And that's, yeah.
It's more of a sense. I used to use the R word, right? Resonance. It's more, that's a little closer to what it is. It's something about when Nkosi first said, all is this. Something about that touched me. The inclusivity of it. It didn't leave anything out, all is this. So that's kind of what I'm pointing here at this meeting. If there's a resonance for the universality of it, the unconditionality, all is this, and there's only what's happening. Because I can't prove it. So if you know, I don't have the words I couldn't make a case. Like I would have to concede.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I'd also say that the self wants to claim to know what it can't be known. It's got to claim and attach itself to what it thinks is real, what it knows that it doesn't know.
Yeah. And from the me's perspective, it's a perfectly logical question. Makes perfect sense. Why can you not answer me? What the hell is this? You keep saying all is this. So what is that? And that's the world of the me, this facts, logic, A, B. It wants an answer. Yeah, good evening, Nkosi. Welcome.
Hi, Coach.
I am Nkosi.
Hello, everyone.
Tonight's message, Nkosi, is this, just as it is.
Yeah, it's simply this, talking, waiting, expectation, desire to know something different. It's simply this. This may appear as everything. You know, it's nothing can stick out on its own. You know, there's no separation. Yeah, there's no separation. So the thinking, confusion, stress, everything, joy, peace, love, it's everything. So when they seem to be somebody who's talking, that's not an evidence that there's separation. It's just everything talking. Somebody asking a question, giving an answer, waiting. So yeah, there's nothing separate from this. All is this. Even the one who seems not to be getting it, even the one who seems to be on the journey, even the journey itself, it's still this, the seeking. Yeah, yet this is already wordless. It doesn't need anything to happen. It doesn't need any talking, any discussion for it to be what it is. It's already here, even before seeking may arise. It's already here, even before any question may arise. And there's nobody here to know anything and become anything. There's nobody here to get to it. Because all is it already. Even what seems to be a dream. It's just everything appearing as somebody in the dream. Being somebody who's seeking for this. It's just a dream appearing in this. And there's no one who's dreaming. Even what seems to be the sense of being somebody is already everything, is already what is appearing as that. And this is neither good or bad. It's simply what is. It's not going anywhere. And right now, there is no meeting. There are no people here. There is no waiting here. It's just this. So everything is already nothing. Labels may seem to appear, may seem to be given, but those are just labels. They are also an expression of what is. They are also an expression of everything. They don't belong to anyone. Even what seems to be the knower is already the unknown. So no one here can talk or speak on behalf of this. There's just this. And there is no pointing to this, because this is everything. Everything can never really be pointed to. It's, if there's just everything, who can point to it? It's everything. So this is beautiful just the way it is. A huge explosion may happen, but it's just also what is appearing as an explosion. A pen or a ruler may fall down, or may fall down on the floor, but it's just what is appearing as that. A huge elephant may suddenly appear behind a chair, but it doesn't mean anything. It's just what is appearing as that. It's going nowhere. It's either meaningful or meaningless. It's simply what is. So the sufferer, the one who seems to suffer, the one who seems to be afraid of life, afraid of death, is already not there. It's just everything appearing as that. There is no real separate somebody who can be afraid of death, who can be a victim. There is no victim here. There are no individuals. But in the story, it may seem as if they are real individuals. The belief may arise that, oh, I'm here, oh, so and so is here, everything is okay. But that's just also everything appearing as that there isn't any real separate somebody who believes that. It's just everything appearing as that. Even when that sense of being separate is there, strong, but it doesn't belong to anyone. There's nobody there already. And it may seem to collapse, and it will be recognized as well that it just wasn't there at all. It was just imagined by no one. So what seems to be a real separate person is imaginary. There is no real separate person here. It's just everything. So there is that sense of okayness with everything and everyone here. So everyone is okay in a way. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter the situation that they seem to be going through, but it's just everything appearing as them going through something. So everything is okay. Everything is beautiful. Even the thought that may arise and say, oh, it's not okay, I'm not satisfied, it doesn't belong to anyone. It's just everything appearing as a thought. Yeah, that's it.
Beautiful.
I have something to say. An insight that I had over here as Nkosi was speaking is that I found a way, I think, to listen to this. I love listening to this for a long time. And as I'm listening to people speak of this, what I was doing was going, I don't believe it. But also, I don't not believe it. Okay, so I was just doing that like as a mantra, an internal mantra. I don't believe it. I believe it. I don't believe it. I believe it. And there was some freedom there. And then I could hear, I think more clearly, what the message is, but not having to go, well, I believe that. I believe it. No, I don't believe it. I believe it. I don't believe it. So I was just playing with that. That was just like listening to Nkosi. There was just like, you know, no belief, not believing, not believing, not believing. It's just this beautiful stuff coming out, but no believing or non-believing it. And it was like, so I found a way to listen, I think, at the next level to all this kind of stuff. And it's like, and even what I'm saying here, I'm not believing this. Well, I am, but oh no, I'm not, I don't believe it. I believe it. So that's my new mantra. I believe it. I don't believe it. I believe it. I don't believe it. I just keep saying that. It sets up a vibration in me where it's like, say whatever you want, because it's okay. It's like, it's all good. I love this. Thank you. Thank you, Nkosi. Thank you all.
Beautiful.
Hey, Don, I want to ask, is there a space in between believing and not believing? Would there be a space there?
You know, there is, until I keep saying it enough and that vibration comes up, then there's no space.
That's where this is.
Okay, thank you. Got that. That's clear. Thank you.
Beautiful.
And that's the duality, believing, not believing. That's the duality.
And just to say, and as you said that, I said, oh, I believe that. Makes sense to me. So I got to make sure I got caught. See, I got caught there. I believe that. Oh, now I'm caught. Now I know the answer. So, oh no, I don't believe that. I don't. Oh, I do believe it. Oh, I don't. Da, 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 da. So for me personally, a lot of practice. For me, a lot of practice, but that's okay. Oh, you guys are great, man. You know that? I mean, I just sitting here looking at you guys like, my God, this is like all this light coming out here. This is beautiful stuff, man. And but wait, I don't believe that either. I gotta stop. See, I don't believe that. Yeah. This is not beautiful. This is beautiful stuff. This is not beautiful stuff. This is beautiful stuff. This is not beautiful stuff. Beautiful, not beautiful. Da 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 da. Okay. Wow. Now what? Whatever.
You should go on stage, Don.
You'd be a great guest for Between Two Ferns.
Any last comments or questions before we close out this evening?
Would it be fun sometime if all of us woke up at 4 a.m. and Nkosi was in a normal daytime? Would that be fun to reverse it?
That's brilliant.
That would be if time existed.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody,
Thank you,
to
Michael.
each and every
Nkosi.
one of you so much. We love and appreciate all of you. And Nkosi, thank you so much. Have a good night, everybody.
Michael.
Great. Have a good night,
Yeah.
guys.
Bye.
Good night.
Good